everybody, my name is Jack and I'm here with Pastor Rob from the United Methodist Church in Jackson, Minnesota. And what is the sermon going to be about today?
Well, good morning, Jack. I heard you had districts in soccer, and so good luck with that today and everything. Today's the World Cup and everything. We're rooting for France, right? No, I don't know. Anyway, hey, the sermon this morning, we spent the last 3 Sundays talking about how to give your testimony. And talking about Jesus, and so the natural question then would be, so what? Okay, now we know how to give our testimony. What do you do with that? And so we're going to be talking about when Jesus told his followers, he said, "Take up the cross and follow me." Okay, so I know about Jesus. I know what he did for me. So what does it mean to take up the cross? And we're gonna talk about that a little bit this morning. Okay, thanks, Jack.
Thank you.
Good to see you.
I was saying before the service that I had a phone call from one of my good friends over in South Dakota who attends a Methodist church where they got a new pastor this year, this month. I think I had mentioned to you a couple Sundays ago on the first Sunday of July that that was the first Sunday of the Methodist year when churches who get new ministers have their new ministers. The first day on the job, or the first Sunday on the job, is always the first Sunday in July. And so I said, "Justin, how did it go? How was your new minister?" He said, "Pastor Rob," he said, "he's a newbie." And I said, "What does that mean?" He said, "Oh, he's just fresh out of school. He doesn't even have his, he's not even ordained yet. He just has his preacher's license and everything." We have a system in the United Methodist Church where you can actually be what's called a local pastor, with a licensed local pastor, where you have a license from the bishop's office, of course, to preach or to serve the sacraments in a given area. And he says, he's a local licensed pastor. And I said, "Well, how did it go?" And he said, "Rob, I tell you what, it was awesome." He said, I said, "What was so awesome about it?" He said, "The worship service lasted half an hour. He only preached 10 minutes." And he said it was so funny because as he was standing in the back, this new pastor was standing in the back, he apologized to Justin's dad, who's on the chair, not the chair, but he's on the Pastor Church Relations Committee, and the supervisory committee for the pastors in each church. And he apologized to him and a couple of other older people. And he said, "Well, I didn't mean to preach 10 minutes. I couldn't preach longer." And they said, No, that's great. That's awesome." So taking that in mind this morning, and I'm so sad that Kent's not here, because he's always going like this and everything. I thought I'd do kind of the same thing, in the sense that this morning, as I told Jack, Jack Sadusky this morning, I said, that when he asked me what the sermon is going to be about, I said, the last 3 weeks we've been talking about giving our testimony. What does it mean? How do we do that? How do we talk about Jesus and what Jesus has done, what God has done in our life? And then the natural response to that would be, the natural response after hearing 3 weeks of that would be, okay, now so what? What do we do with that? What do you want us? Do you want us to go out and stand on the street corners with our Bibles raised high and go, "I love Jesus. Jesus died for you"? Or do you want us to just go about our regular lives? How do you do that when you're in an office, or when you're retired and you don't have you have your regular daily things that you do? What do you do if you're a farmer? You're out this week. You may not see anybody but your family. So how do you do your testimony? What do you do with that? And what the Spirit just put on my heart this morning was the same idea that I ended with last week. When we ended the series, "So what?" And so what is, you take up your cross and you follow Jesus. That's why we did, "I have decided to follow Jesus," this morning. Is because now we have to decide, okay, what are we going to do with what God has done in our life? And so I want to invite you to take your Bibles and open them to Matthew chapter 16. Matthew chapter 16, and I have it printed out here. I can look it up in the Bible, but I have it printed out so I can have it right in front of me. And so I want to look at a few verses. Matthew chapter 16, verses 21 through 28, and look at what Jesus told his disciples to do. Matthew chapter 16, verses 21 through 28. I'm reading, of course, from the New Living Translation. And here it is, beginning with verse 21. From then on, Jesus began to tell his disciples plainly that it was necessary for him to go to Jerusalem, and that he would suffer many terrible things at the hands of the elders, the leading priests, and the teachers of the religious law. He would be killed, but on the third day he would be raised from the dead. But Peter took him aside and began to reprimand him for saying such things. Heaven forbid, Lord, he said, this will never happen to you. Jesus turned to Peter and said, Get away from me, Satan. You are a dangerous trap to me. You are seeing things merely from a human point of view, not from God's. Then Jesus said to his disciples, If anyone wants to be my follower, you must give up your own way, take up your cross, and follow me. Now that's where we're going to spend some time there. If any of you wants to be my follower, you must give up your own way, take up your cross, and follow me. If you try to hang on to your life, you will lose it. But if you give up your life for my sake, you will save it. And what do you benefit if you gain the whole world, but lose your own soul? Is anything worth more than your soul? For the Son of Man will come again with his angels in the glory of his Father, and will judge all people according to their deeds. And I tell you the truth, some standing here right now will not die before they see the Son of Man coming in his kingdom. Now there's a lot of stuff here that we could try to unpack, and I could go and spend a lot of time on tangents, right, Mark? I could go tangent here, tangent there, and we'd be here till 12:30. But I don't want to do that this morning. I just want to focus on what we're talking about, taking up your cross. And so some other time we'll get to Peter's confession about this will never happen to you, and Jesus' response, Get away from me, Satan. We can spend time there. Certainly Jesus coming back with angels and judging all people, and some of you standing right here will not die before they see the Son of Man and coming up in his kingdom. We could spend, books and books have been written about that. But, as I mentioned before, verse 24 is where I want to look at this morning. If any of you wants to be my follower, you must give up your own way, take up your cross, and follow me. Now, it's interesting. Jesus is talking to his apostles right there. He's talking to the disciples that are right there with him. And he's not saying, now, if any one of you want to really be close to me, if you want to be the most important people, you're going to have to take up your cross. He doesn't say that, does he? He doesn't say, if you're going to be the 12, if you're going to be the ones that are going to be my most important people, you've got to be right here with me. You've got to take up your cross, just like I'm going to do. He doesn't say that. He says, if anyone wants to be my follower, well, it sounds like he's talking to you and me. All of us. Not just the 12, not just his special disciples, the 12 plus the women that, Mary Magdalene, Mary, and so forth, and everything. He's talking to everybody. If you want to be my follower, you must give up your own way, take up your cross, and follow me. And two things about taking up the cross really came out here. The first one is that taking up the cross is a decision. You take up your cross. It's something you do. You can't just sit and believe. It's an action moment. It's something where you actually get up, take up your cross, and do something. It might be as easy as writing a check. There are people, believe it or not, who have a gift of making money. I know a few of these people who everything they touch turns to gold. Their gift is making money. So what do? Their gift to God is their decision is to give. Now you say, okay, taking up the cross, wait a second here. It says, if any of you wants to be my follower, you must give up your own way, giving up. Are you talking about giving up and giving money? I mean, giving up, if you give money, that's not really giving up. And sure, there are parts of our lives that we have to give up, don't we? You know, if there are things that prevent us from following Him. If there are, I was at the Twins game the other night. It reminded me, we were standing in line, and there were a couple people right there with us who were, because of the time that we had to stand there, I was listening to these guys' conversation, and they were talking about the Bachelorette program on television, and how they love that program. And they're just, oh, did you watch that? And these are two guys, older guys, and they're talking about the Bachelorette program. And then they start talking about the Big Brother program on CBS, and how one person was cheating and lying, and another person was doing this, and blah, 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 and it was this whole program. And then the other guy said, but I still watch The Amazing Race. And I watch all these reality programs on television. And I'm going, are you kidding me? You spent your life watching reality television? What kind of life is that? And I mean, I suppose they're nice guys. I suppose they're nice people. But is that where you want to spend your time? You know, when Jesus comes back, do you really want to say, I spent 8 hours in front of the television every night? You know? Do you really want to say that to Jesus when He was back? So following Him is a decision about what we do and how we do it. It might be making a decision. Maybe there's something that you shouldn't be doing, that you can give to other moments, other times. And I realize I'm preaching kind of to the choir, but I realize there might be people on Facebook and other people that watch in town here and on television. And by the way, our new television system, did you know that there are community channels now? So I think it's 71 or 72. And so, you know, we can wave to everybody on television there and everything too. And so if you want to share that with people and stuff, there's a decision you can make to share the service with others. Say, hey, go on Facebook, go on television and watch our service. It's a decision you make to follow Him in what you do and what you say. But the other part of taking up the cross is sacrifice. And we can easily see that here. Jesus says, if any of you wants to be my follower, you must give up your own way. Give up. Sounds like sacrifice to me. Take up your cross and follow me. If you try to hang on to your life, you will lose it. But if you give up your life for my sake, you will save it. And what do you benefit if you gain the whole world but lose your own soul? Jesus is talking about what we do in our lives. If you, for example, a couple weeks ago I told you that I very strongly believe that when Jesus comes back with His angels and takes us to heaven, or in the meantime I die before that happens, and when I get there, Jesus is going to ask me, Rob, what did you tell the people in Jackson about me? What did you say to them about me? Jesus is going to ask you the same thing about your family, about your friends. Are you going to say, I'm sorry, but I had the neatest farm, I had everything, I had the greatest machinery, I kept everything well maintained so that I could maintain my family and care for my family. I'm sorry, but that's all I ever did. What did you tell them about me? Well, I was too busy, sorry. That's what Jesus is saying. He's saying, don't be so busy that you forget your family, that you forget the ones that are closest to you. What did you say to your mom, or what did you say to your dad about me? What did you do? What did you say to, I know that you know some of the people at the Good Sam. Did you ever say anything to them? Did you ever do anything with them? I didn't see any cards on Dorothy's table I saw 2 cards. They were from the same person. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. How many people are here this morning? What does it mean to sacrifice? It means sacrifice time, sacrifice a little bit of money, sacrifice having to go up or go and sit with a person maybe in silence. We're from Minnesota. I said, you ever go to coffee in the morning? You ever go to coffee or in the afternoon, or even at happy hour? If you wait until the evening or early evening and go to the Legion or go to Pillars or Bridget's or whatever, and you're sitting there, and we don't say anything. You're spending time with each other. You're saying, I'm here not because I'm a Methodist, not because Pastor Rob said this is how we share our testimony, but I'm here because I'm a follower of Jesus, and I love Him, and I want you to know that too. That's what we do when we follow Jesus. We make a decision to go to do something. It might be to write a card, to write a check, to visit somebody, to say something to somebody. Maybe they haven't had a kind word all day. There was a guy at the Twins game I was watching him. I was sitting in an area where they served you, where you were sitting and everything. It wasn't expensive anyway. Don't do a tangent. Don't do a tangent. I don't want to go to a tangent. The thing is, here was this guy serving people, and he was having a dickens of a time with the people down the way from me, and I just felt really bad. I'm just going, how can I brighten up this guy's day and everything? So I made a point of saying, what's on his name tag? Hey, Mitch, you're the guy. And so I called him by name, and then I gave him a 50% tip. And my brother goes, you gave him how much? And I said, he was having a really tough time. He was having a tough night. And I guarantee you, he wasn't going to get tips from all those other people. And everything. It's sacrifice. It's following Jesus. Being a witness for Him in any way you can. That's what you do with your testimony. Let's pray together. Our Lord God, we thank you for leading us, for being the one that we follow in our lives in every way. Help us to watch out for those that we can share your love, your grace, your forgiveness with others. Maybe somebody's wronged us, and we can take up our cross, and it might sacrifice a little bit of our dignity and pride, but we could forgive somebody for doing something that wasn't too nice toward us. In any way we can, Lord. In any place we can. It might be at work. It might be in a farming situation with our own families. It might be at a coffee place or wherever we have coffee with friends or have a drink with friends. Lord, help us to watch for ways where we can be your witnesses here in Jackson, and in Martin County and any place we are. Help us always to follow you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.